Hello, welcome to the Satellite Marketcast podcast, where we feature key executives from leading satellite companies worldwide, talk about their company, their careers, industry trends, and other insights on the exciting satellite communication industry. I'm your host, Virgil Labrador, Editor-in-Chief of Satellite Markets and Research, inviting you to another informative podcast with our featured guest today. Well, welcome everybody to this edition of the Satellite Marketcast podcast. And our guest today is Alexander Mueller-Gastell. He's the CEO of ND SatCom. It's a company based in Friedrichshafen, Germany. It's in the south of Germany near the beautiful Lake Constance. It's a ground equipment manufacturer and service provider. And Alex, I've known him for a few years now. He's been on the job for 3 years as CEO of ND SatCom. He's had a very interesting background in the industry. He's worked in several companies, and he was formerly CEO of Signalhorn, which was in Teleport, which is the part of the industry that I worked at. So, Alex, welcome to this podcast.
Hi, Virgil. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, Alex. I recall 3 years ago, we were about this time in September. We were at the IBC, and you were just starting out at the ND SatCom. And I've been following ND SatCom for many years now, and it's gone through a lot of changes over the years. And actually, I've known every CEO that ND SatCom has had. I've interviewed every one of them, and you've lasted more than most of them. So how's it been so far, Alex?
Yeah, glad to have a chance to talk to you again, Virgil. Although we have to do it virtually this time and not meet face to face as we usually do.
Yeah.
You were actually my first interviewer when I joined ND SatCom, which was in September of 2017, and at the time we met at the IBC.
Right.
Amazingly, it has been 3 years, which have been 3 of the most exciting years of my career, and have gone by very quickly. I would say that within the 3 years, a lot of good things we have been able to achieve at ND SatCom, and I'm very excited about the next years to come as well.
Right. Yeah, talk about that. I know it's changed quite a bit because I've seen it from the beginning, way back. When it was still Nortel Daza to be. That really takes us back a long time. And I've seen more stable, a bit more stability now since you took over 3 years ago. You're now more focused on certain markets and products. You've done a total rebrand of the company. A totally new look of the company. So talk about those.
Yeah, it's always interesting to really take a step back and kind of review what the company has achieved over the last 3 years, which is the time frame I can really talk to you about. And you have known the company much longer than I have. But if I look at the last 3 years, I would say that we have taken ND SatCom really to a new level in regard to its position in the market, its approach to the market, and how we really want ND SatCom to be seen from a customer point of view as well.
Mm-hmm.
When I first joined ND SatCom, and obviously been from the industry, the company was known to me, and I did my first trips and met customers. That the feedback was also that ND SatCom has a very strong brand.
Mm-hmm.
People know ND SatCom. People know that ND SatCom has a very high-level technology to offer, very reliable. But based on its history, and you alluded to it, changes in the management and at the head of the company. And then going through some, consolidation after being carved out of Airbus. People were asking me, what's ND SatCom about today? And really, nice to see you guys again being more active and so forth, because you kind of dropped off the radar a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that really, gave us here at the company at the management level the strong motivation to really put ND SatCom back on the map in the industry a lot stronger than what it was, because we knew we had a lot of good things to post and a lot of good things to talk to the customers about, and it just hadn't been done for a number of years, and that was the starting point, really, back then.
Right. And
Yeah.
yeah, now since it's the first time we're actually doing a podcast, like you said, we used to meet at the shows. In fact, we just met in Satellite. Well, that seems like a long time ago now. 6 months ago, the last industry show of the year. I mean, really, the last live one.
Oh yes, I remember.
Yeah. So, give our audience an idea of your product lines and what you do.
Sure, I would very much like to. So at the core of ND SatCom, and you mentioned at the introduction, is really the core modem technology, which for over many generations now we have further developed, and we are now into the 5th generation, and hence the product is called SkyOne 5G, which has now been on the market for a couple of years, and which has been the successor of the previous SkyOnes. It's a modem that offers a lot of features that play to the mesh technology, and that's really at the core of our technological direction that we're going. But having said that, and this is something that again we have been reiterating into the market over the last few years, is that yes, we have this core technology, but really what we are offering is an end-to-end solution. So we are a solution provider which can offer, based on our competencies, based on our resources that we have in our company, the customer really an end-to-end solution, with offering them a proposal for a network, with designing that proposal, that network, with installing that network, and then also doing the after service, the after implementation and the customer service part of it afterwards. So, that whole string of offerings that we have to the customer really takes us beyond just being a modem supplier.
Right. Now you serve certain markets very well, like in the broadcast field. I know your SkyOne is, and then your mobility applications used for cellular backhaul, and you're also strong in the defense sector. I may have missed a few there, but I wanted just to before we get into detail into those different verticals that you serve, we have to face the fact that we've had the global pandemic for a few months now. And it looks like it's going to have some effect even further, a few more months, or maybe spilling over to next year. How has that affected your company and maybe your focus on different markets?
Well, yeah, it's certainly here, and as you alluded to, the last time, at least I got on a plane, was the ride back from Washington after the show.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, and that's 6 months ago, right? I mean,
right.
God, back then,
yeah,
we knew it was going to be potentially, the last trip for a couple of months, but certainly not for 6 months. And it looks like it's going to last for a little bit longer. So crazy to think how we felt back then. As soon as I returned from Washington, what we immediately did here in the company, we set up a crisis team, right? A crisis team to respond to this, because we knew we had to, first of all and foremost, protect our employees, and implement all measures necessary to ensure that the health of the employees are at the top of the list of priorities. So we introduced this crisis team, which met at the beginning almost daily. Now we're into a weekly rhythm where we just review what measures we have taken and if they are obviously having the right positive impacts on our employees. We're also reviewing what obviously the government, especially here in Germany, where we have most of our people working, has implemented in regard to measures, and what we have to then obviously also implement here in the company. And the way we've been dealing with that from our point of view has been that we have responded very swiftly to this issue. So as many other companies have done, all the people that are possibly been able to work from home, we have been working from home. We actually only just before it hit in March, we introduced Microsoft Teams into our company, so we're fully equipped to work virtually. It has been an adjustment for people, but it has worked quite well. We do have some people that have to work here on site, which we have been equipping obviously with the mask, and also making sure that they don't have to work together and have separate working places and so forth. So as of today, I'm very happy, and I'm very thrilled to say that we have not had any COVID-19 cases in our company, and knock on wood, it's something that I pray for every day. So I think so on a company perspective, that's how we've been dealing with it.
How about your supply chain and distribution and all that? And you install stuff all over the world, right? How has that affected your operation?
Yeah. So on the supply chain side, we actually have not been affected very much, just simply because we get our parts, or we get any of the equipment that we then sell to the customer here locally. So as other companies have had effects, having a longer supply chain from other countries, that has not been the case. We have been fortunate that on the order intake side, we continue to generate good order intake throughout these last months, also predominantly from our defense business here in Europe. Now on the revenue side, we're obviously not immune to the effects COVID-19 has had on travel restrictions, on being able to go to countries and install equipment. So all of those things have been delayed, not lost, but just delayed. And hence we'll obviously feel some of that on materializing the positive order intake into revenue in 2020.
Right. Now, we mentioned some of the markets that the vertical markets that you serve, broadcast, telecommunications. You already mentioned defense. How has the pandemic affected that? Do you see any new opportunities coming up, or?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, again, communication is at the top of everybody's list, and everybody has to, now adjust to the new way of working on, and that includes communication on a virtual basis, or on not necessarily always on a face-to-face basis, and that creates opportunities. It creates opportunities also, obviously, in regard to the communication needed on a first aid basis, and on any of the emergency response. People that have been doing such a tremendous job throughout the world in helping the people that have been affected by it. But every one of those needs to have the proper communication. So those are opportunities that have always been on the horizon, I would say, especially on the mobility sector, but have now been obviously further enforced and pushed at the top of the agenda simply because of COVID-19. On the other hand, I'd say that on the defense side, we've been fortunate that all of these projects that have been a long time coming have not been postponed, so simply because the need for them is there. independent of COVID-19, and there is a world after COVID-19 which people have to obviously also work towards. And so, in that regard, we have been able to keep the ball moving on getting these projects in the door.
Right. Now, moving forward, post-pandemic, how do you see your company the next year, and like 2021 in the next couple of years at least?
Well, from a company working perspective, as I said to you before, people have adjusted to the new life of not being able to always meet face to face, and we use the modern technology, and I'm under the assumption that will continue into 2021. So we don't really see any need right now to bring people back from working in the home office only on a need by need basis.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the way that we work internally. Mm-hmm. Do I see any major changes to our business in 2021 based on post COVID? Well, mm-hmm. As I said, some of the opportunities that we're pursuing that I just alluded to, that's something that could bring us more into those verticals or into those markets. Mm-hmm. But in the end, the DNA of ND SatCom is still going to be the DNA that I described earlier.
Right. Well, it looks like you've been very, very successful in the last 3 years, and then moving forward, with the company. And now you've got a broad base of experience in the industry. You worked in, like I said in the beginning, you worked in a teleport the business. You've had a financial background. How do you see the industry moving forward? Post pandemic. What are the key trends that you see, and how is your company positioned in order to meet these opportunities or trends that are coming up?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and that's a question that is keeping me thinking as well, keeping me busy thinking around it. Mm-hmm. I think first of all, over the last year and a half prior to COVID-19, we've seen some interesting moves on the M&A side, mm-hmm. and some consolidation obviously going on, especially in our sector, around the ground segment sector. And if you look at it today, it's obviously ND SatCom out there with some other smaller players, but there's obviously some big players out there now as well. Mm-hmm. That has obviously come to a halt, over the last few months. But as I only learned recently talking to some analysts, it's amazing how all of a sudden the train has gained speed again on people willing to invest in companies and looking to buy companies. And it almost like we're back at where we were prior to COVID-19. So I think that will continue. Right. I think there's still some movement out there, some companies looking to also potentially who have suffered from the effects of COVID-19 to look to consolidate. The other big thing that's happening is obviously the whole LEO MEO constellation, so the non-geos and the Starlinks, the OneWebs, the Empower, the Telesat LEOs, those kind of company or consortiums. They're moving ahead. Mm-hmm. They're moving ahead. There's no slowdown. OneWeb is going to potentially launch another batch of satellites by the end of the year. Right. That might be a little ambitious, but they will. Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing how much capacity is going to come on stream in the next few months. It could take a couple of years, and how is the industry going to deal with that, and how is LEO really going to affect all of us? Mm-hmm. Because in the end, it's a trickle down effect. For LEO, you need the right antennas, the flat panel antennas, and then it trickles down into the ground segment.
Right.
So there will be. This is really for me the trend that I'm following very closely and I'm very interested in, and to really see, when does it really come through on the operator side, as well as then on the service providers, the whole ecosystem of it.
Right. There's an
So I think that's
opportunity
gonna
for
be
ND
interesting.
SatCom there in the new LEO constellations. You can be part of the ground solution.
Sure. And we're very much looking at that already. We're doing. We're already working at doing some of the testing to see how our technology would jive with the LEO constellations. And yes, some of that is early stage, but that's definitely something that's interesting to follow up on. Absolutely.
Right. Well, it looks like there's a lot to look forward to then, Alex?
Yeah, I'm as excited about ND SatCom's future and the industry's future as I was on day one when I joined here. So lots more to go, and I'm very happy about the industry moving and getting new things online, and always enjoy learning more about it.
Yeah. It's really very refreshing to hear a CEO of a company speak as you do, very should I say optimistically, and that you still have that same passion as when you started, even though we're faced with a bit more challenging situation now than before. So they say 3 years is the charm, and I wish you many more years. Alex, is there anything else that we'd like to add or final thoughts?
No, I think, I really like the format that you're doing here. I think it's great that we still have a chance to speak to each other in the different circumstances, and there's nothing like meeting face to face. So I do look forward somewhere down the road to meet my colleagues of the industry again, and you at a venue to be determined at an exhibition and so on. But there will be, and until then. I think it's a great way of staying connected, and I appreciate you talking to me, and I wish everybody best of health and get through this and stay healthy.
Yeah, well, thank you, Alex. Yeah, I also likewise. I feel the same way as you do, as many of us do. We all miss each other. We all miss the excitement of the shows. I actually been attending some virtual shows. There's one going on right now as we speak. The Connect Tech Asia one in Singapore, and it's not quite the same. It's a good substitute, but given that there's no other option. But it's nothing like meeting somebody face to face, looking them in the eye, and all that. And I know you had a very good event which I missed that you did at your facility. And then ND SatCom used to have that too before, when they had these industry mini conferences. So I hope we can resume to those days again with a little bit more. I think the world has changed, like you said, but we still things still continue on.
Right. Absolutely. We look forward. We look forward into the future, and it'll still be an exciting. It'll still be an exciting future. I'm convinced.
Well, thank you, Alex. Alexander Mueller-Gastell, the CEO of ND SatCom, a company that we will be continue to watch very carefully. For all the news and information in the global satellite industry, you always have satellite markets and research at www.satellitemarket.com. And this podcast is also available on our YouTube channel at Satellite Marketcast, YouTube/Satellite Marketcast, where you can listen to other interviews we've done with geeks, including Alex in the past, so you can see the evolution of this company. Well, thank you again.